Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. At Scout, we're doing things differently with our focus on legendary service and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other on to do higher quality work while keeping the clients at the center. Come see how it feels to work with a small group of committed brokers with the shared goal of upping their game. For more info, please contact Jennifer Nelson, founder and owner of Scout, 206-227-7966 or jennifer@scoutrealestate.com.
Hello folks, Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours, and I am stoked this morning to be talking to my friend and colleague, Sandra Hines. Thank you so much for being on the show, Sandra.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks so much for having me. I feel very, very blessed.
Well, good. So do I. Honored. We get to have this conversation. We got to go for a walk a couple of weeks ago, and it was just so fun to be in person again and be chatting about business and life. So I appreciate your friendship too. Thank you.
Likewise.
Good. You don't know this, I think. Maybe you do, but I'm going to tell you something about your success. So this is exciting for our listeners to know this too. But Sandra is the number one agent in West Seattle. Did you know that, Sandra? I know this is news to you. No, I looked at volume the other day. No, I did. I looked it up. It's real and you're killing it. So good job.
Oh my gosh.
Super proud of you. And if you didn't already know this by production, you are in the top 2% of all realtors in Washington state as well. So congratulations. You can hang your hat on that. Yeah. So there's 34,000 brokers in the state of Washington, and you're in the top 2% of those production wise. So yay. Yay for you.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, no wonder I'm sort of feeling a little like, overwhelmed.
Exactly. A couple people that I've interviewed on the show have been like, oh, that's why I'm so busy. Yeah. Same response, right? Now this makes more sense. I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, Sandra, first of all, I want to ask you a question, just a little bit about yourself, who you are, your family, pets. Tell us a little bit about Sandra Hines.
Sure. So I'm originally from El Paso, Texas, and I went to school in Austin, UT Austin, but I'd always wanted to live in the Pacific Northwest. I even applied to go to Western Washington University, but instead I followed my boyfriend, which is not the right thing to do, everybody. That's just by the way. And went there to Austin instead. But then after I graduated, I was like, I need to be up in Seattle. It was a calling. I'd never been here, never knew anybody that was from here, but I just knew I needed to be here. So moved up here in the early 90s, and then was somehow successful in getting my immediate family, my brothers and my parents over to West Seattle as well, actually, nice. Where I live. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have currently literally live in a house that I moved into about a year ago. I took about a year of remodeling it. And then I have two wonderful kids, or although they're not really kids anymore. I have a 21-year-old daughter who's a senior at WSU, and my son Max, he's 19 and just graduated high school and trying to figure out life.
Nice.
Oh, and of course, I have my dog Misty, who you've met, who I adore, my little mini Aussie, and she's 15 years old, or almost 15, and still just as spry as a little young one.
Wow. That's so cool. I remember you bought this house and you bought it sort of in an interesting way because you weren't really planning, right, to be moving.
No, I was not. And I was certainly not planning on buying a project, but but the opportunity came along, and I had a client who actually I kept telling him, we need to list this house. And he was just adamant about not wanting to go on market and wanted to sell it off market to some flippers. And I was like, well, dude, if you're going to sell it to flippers for the price, I'm like, I have to buy it. Like, I can't let it go for that price. Yeah. So found myself in a year-long project, which is actually an amazing thing because now I can tell my clients anything and everything regarding construction and the costs of what things cost and how difficult it can be. So in a way, I wish I'd done this like years ago.
Yeah. Yep. Got some firsthand experience now. Really relevant. Yeah. That's great. Well, I'm glad to have you in West Seattle. It's fun to be neighbors with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So tell me, what did you do prior to real estate? What was your industry then?
I graduated with a Bachelor of Journalism degree in a specialization in public relations. And so when I moved up here, I joined as the intern at the corporate headquarters for Westin Hotels and Resorts when it was based here, and then moved my way on up from there to being the corporate director of public relations for the brand. I find it really translated really well for me into my real estate business, because the way I saw it was, here I was in this marketing department of big time real estate, having to market our hotels and resorts throughout the world. And I was able to apply all the things I learned there to smaller, residential real estate. And it worked out really well. And it really just was for me, that was back in the day. I think I started, I don't know, maybe back in 2004. And that was just the beginning of when people started staging, doing really nice photography. And so I was wholeheartedly on board on the staging bandwagon, thinking we had to do this. And I think that's one thing that that set me apart, at that younger age, when not a lot of that was happening. Well, now everybody does it.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And how did you transition out of being in the Westin deal into real estate?
Sure. So my parents had just moved up here, and Westin got bought out by Starwood, and they moved the headquarters to New York. And there was no way in hell I was going to be able to leave after my parents just moved to West Seattle to be near me, because I basically bribed them saying, we can't have kids, your grandkids for you until we have some help. So that's why they moved up here. And so I was like, I can't go. So that's when I sort of transitioned to being a stay-at-home mom. I had 2 kids. And then my husband at the time was in technology, and the dot bomb happened.
Yes,
dot
bomb.
Yeah, and he was like, you need to get a job. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go back to the corporate life. It didn't fulfill me at all. I felt like I was just helping a company make more money and not like individuals. And I really had this desire to be of service and to help in the community. And I had been helping my friends just look for homes online. And then they kept telling me I was doing a better job than their real estate agents. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll try this. And so I got connected with another agent who had been in the business for a while. And he needed someone to work with him because he was overwhelmed. And, and I, at the time, had built up a lot of friendships because of kids, which is a great way to get your sphere is, just by being involved in the community.
Totally.
And,
having a kid or 2 also.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You just automatically, start meeting people.
It's true.
So then the one thing I felt that I was lacking in was experience. I felt that I needed to work with someone, which was great. And so I was able to learn through working with him. And because my friends they trusted me, they knew I, did a good job, but I didn't have that experience background. By having him with me, I was able to secure, clients almost immediately because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is one of the things I would totally recommend to a newer agent.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Starting off that way. Right.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that, Sandra? When did 2004, you think?
Yeah, I think it was around 2004. Okay. Yeah. My son was about a year old or a year and a half when I got in the business. And, I love the idea of being able to help others. I know other people feel the same way about our business. It's not sales, it's service. And I see it as a community service because I just want to make sure that, people are having people who are advocates for them. And whether it's to say, yes, you should buy it, or no, don't buy or don't sell,
Totally.
Is really important.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And you bring that energy. Honestly, I can say that from a personal standpoint too, but I know that your clients must experience what I do, which is you actually care about them and you care about their well-being and you care about them making good decisions. And you are not in this for just the commission. I mean, of course, this is how you make a living, but you really are community centered. And I think it comes through your business. So, yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, that's why I feel so why I love my job. Yeah. And that's why I don't mind working as hard as as much and as hard as I do, because it doesn't feel like work most of the time.
That's right. There's moments where we're like, what? So you kind of, you helped me segue into this next question pretty naturally a few minutes ago when you said something about this is advice I would give a new agent. So we're going to have a lot of listeners on this call. Some of them are going to be brand new in the industry, and some of them are going to have a couple years under their belt, and some will be seasoned agents. So let's talk just for a minute about those. Like, we just got our license. We're listening to this podcast, and Sandra Hines, what would you give us? What's some advice you would give us?
Really, my biggest advice would be to partner up with somebody, because the one objection that people are going to have is, oh, but you're new, and this transaction is going to be one of their biggest money transactions that they ever make. So they want to make sure that they're working with someone who not only that they trust, but also has the experience behind them. So really, I can't emphasize that enough. Also, having some money in the bank if you're a new agent, it takes time to build up, and remaining consistent and showing up, like not just going to the office and being a part of the community of agents that are around you and listening. Like, I can't tell you when I was over at my first office, where just sitting around and listening to what's other people transacting, because if I'm not transacting, then how am I learning? And then one book that I always mention to people, and it's such an easy book to read, and I'm not a big reader. I just don't seem to have the time. And when I do read, I normally fall asleep. So The Go-Giver by Bob Berg and John David Mann, it really spoke to me. It's a quick read. And it really sort of emphasized the power of not just thinking about what am I going to be getting. It's, how can I give? And by doing that, and it seems to just come naturally. It's like you do good, for others, and it comes back to you in so many ways. And you're not doing it as a way of trying to get something. You just want to help. And I think that might be a good book for somebody to read.
That's so great. I love it. I love it. Just to summarize a little bit, so partnering up, it's I think that the humility is what you're talking about a little bit, and to say, as you come into this new industry, you really don't know anything. And I see a lot of these new agents coming in sort of thinking they've got this down already. And that's the pride cometh before the fall, right? Like, you watch them sort of come in with a bang, and then in 6 months they have no business and they're wondering what happened. As opposed to an agent that walks in and says, I need to learn everything. And so I'm just going to fully immerse myself around other people that know what they're doing, maybe even partner up with one of them, right?
Yeah, finding a mentor is for sure. Really, really important. And and knowing that you have to put in a lot of work to start making money, and just getting the experience by working with someone and helping someone out, and not necessarily getting paid a lot in the beginning. You're going to learn so much.
Yep, for sure. And if you have not read that book, I have read it, The Go-Giver. It's a fantastic book. And it's so interesting, Sandra, because what we were just talking about, sort of your philosophy of how you do your life, that book, I mean, it shows through that you've read that book, that's one of your favorite books, because that is certainly how you do your business. So very cool. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the agent who's been doing this for a while, but seems to be doing that sort of plateau thing, right? Like, I'm consistent at this level of income or at this price point, and I really want to turn the corner. Do you remember when that happened for you? And what do you think, what do you attribute it to?
I do remember this. Well, it was after the 2008, 2009 timeframe. And I was also going through a divorce at the time, and I was scared. That because, in our business, we don't normally have a whole lot of consistency. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I need consistency. I need to be able to make my house payment, because, now it's just me. I ended up signing up with Denise Lonis to do real estate coaching. So I've been with her for over a decade. I can't tell you enough how she impacted my not just my professional life, but my personal life as well. Having someone to sort of be there to support you, sort of learn also like, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and also help me learn what they are as well. And then providing tools of, here are things that you should do. I did it was a coaching group, and it's still like it's a monthly thing that we do, And so we had to have an all day with Denise. We learn about what's going on in the market, learn about what are some of the new things that are happening in our profession, new tools and services that we should be doing. I remember when she was telling us how we should be doing video, way back when, which I'm still scared to do, by the way.
Thanks for being on this call, because I know that's
I know,
part of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then she also got me into doing some branding. So doing some branding to sort of set myself apart. And what she told me is, so I'm a supporter. My personality is a supporter and analytical. And then she also said, just with my personality, she's like, Sandra, you just need to show up. Just show up. And I'd be scared to show up sometimes. And so she would, give me that little extra push that I needed. And, whether it's like, if it's not Denise Lonis, it could be, Brian Buffini, it could be Tom Ferry, it could be anybody else. But I really feel that for me was the turning point in my career. And it's not necessarily doing everything she told me, because God knows I don't, and I should. But just even taking some nuggets and then just going with it and having the accountability is so huge.
Absolutely. I love that. And Denise Lonis, huge fan. She's an amazing person. For those of you on the call, if you don't know who that is, get to know who that is for sure, and sign up for everything she does. She's fantastic. And I'd love, this is a little sneak peek for those listening. She will be on the podcast coming up, and I'm super thrilled to have her on the show. So you'll have to all tune in for that episode as well. But what I want to say in summary around that is, again, if you're noticing a theme already in this interview, it's to say there's humility. Are you picking this up, folks? I want you to know Sandra came into this and said, I don't know anything. I'm going to learn from the best. Then at this new juncture in her career, she said, I need to up level. And the way I do that is by coaching. And I can't emphasize enough this education that we need to have and continue to pursue to become better and better at this, to become masters at this, is to be humble enough to go get the help you need, right? And if you don't have a coach and you're kind of midway in your career, go get one. Go find somebody to help you, because we do all this on our own, right? We're by ourselves. The CFO, the sales manager, we're all the hats in this industry, and so getting some help and some accountability is great. I love that. Thank you. All right. So Sandra, tell me something interesting, funny, weird that's happened to you, and you're now almost 20 years doing this business. We encounter different things. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to share one quick story, and I may have shared this already on the podcast, so sorry for folks that have already heard it, but I walked into this condo and I'm showing it to this guy and his fiance, and this condo is covered in pictures of the owner and his cat. And I don't mean like a picture. I mean like 30 in a 1-bedroom condo, and they're professionally done. So he went to a studio and he was sitting there with the backdrop and the lights and his cats with him, and they're doing different things throughout the house, and not 5x7s, but like 10x14s. The entire house was covered with he and his cat photos, and we just couldn't help ourselves. We were laughing and joking around, and we thought, shame on that listing agent for not getting that home prepped for market, because we needed to decatify that house. Anyway, so I know you've encountered crazy, weird things too, but is anything coming to mind?
There's so many things have come to mind, but I'm actually scared to even share them, because some of them have also involved my clients, and and I feel like I need to obviously protect them. There was one time, this is I guess years ago, before marijuana was legalized. My clients moved into their home and they called me and they were like, the seller left something in the kitchen, and I'm like, what? And they're like, why don't you come over here and check it out? So I hightail it over there, and they pull out this tin, and it was at the very the top shelf of the kitchen cabinet, and I open it up, and it's their stash of weed, and they're like, what do we do with this? And I'm like, well, technically it's yours now.
Whatever's left in the house after closing. Right. I love it.
I'm like, but if you don't want it, and I'm like, I can take it and see if I can return it somehow to the former owner, which I did. And so the former owner just moved down a couple doors. So I actually knocked on the door and delivered it. And their face just was like, oh my God.
Yeah. How did we forget that? We forgot it was even up there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Hilarious.
pretty funny.
I love that you just said, well, it's technically yours by contract. It's part of the deal. So good. So good.
I know. And some people probably would be like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Back then, it wasn't as easy to get a hold of.
Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you.
A couple other things I just thought I wanted to just, mention too, is that, sort of stranger, and then it's not necessarily strange or funny. A few things I've gone through in my career that where I thought it could be like career shattering that ended up not being. And I just wanted to sort of give some hope to others, if they are encountering things like this in their life is, so I had cancer. Mm-hmm. I am 5 years cancer free, so Yay. Very, very grateful. But when I was diagnosed, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? Like, I need my business. Like, I need to work. Is everyone now, am I now not going to, get any business because people know that I'm sick? At the time, though, had in place an assistant, thankfully, and was ready to be able to tackle dealing with cancer and still trying to stay in business. And I didn't know, like, do I tell my clients? Do I not tell my clients? And, just who I am, I was like, I wear my, my heart on my sleeve. I want to be vulnerable with people. And so I'm like, I'm just going to put it out there. So I sent out a letter and letting people know, but then also saying that, like, I have everything in place to be able to still handle your business. And, and in fact, I need to continue working because not having money and going through cancer would be horrible. And I had my biggest year ever that year. So just know that like bad things happen, but it's not the end of the world. The other thing that happened to me recently is I got hacked into on my email. They went into my Facebook account and social media and put bad stuff on my profile pages. And so I got shut down. I was not able to get into Facebook for a year and a half. Wow. So again, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm a real estate agent. What am I going to do? I now can't even get an account at my social media. I'm going to lose business. I don't know what's going to happen. And I didn't. Which is actually also for me, another great thing, because I really wasn't all that big into Facebook. It stresses me out. So I'm like, oh, wow, I actually don't need to be doing this, So just something I wanted to throw out and share.
Yeah, those are great. Thank you for those additions. I will say this, that watching you navigate cancer treatment, all that you went through, I was so inspired. And what I loved, Sandra, is that you were just real about it. The honesty and the authenticity that you just came to life with to say, hey, this is what's happening for me, clients, and here's how I need your support. Where I think a lot of people, a lot of agents in particular, would have potentially tried to sort of keep that on the down low. Don't tell anybody because what if this? But you were like, I'm just going to hit this head on, say what's happening. And everybody rallied around you to support you in that time.
It still brings tears to me. I'm sorry, I might cry. This will be the first time on a podcast. Is, just how amazing the support was from my family, friends, fellow brokers, the love that I felt, and I swear, and I do believe in the power of positivity and positive energy. I felt it coming my way, and I do attribute, my being healthy today to all of the love and wonderful energy I received. You came over to my house and, stopped in to check in on me, and and people delivering meals, and it really changed my life. It really did, in a positive way.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I remember little baldy Sandra. I remember you. I came to the door and you had a hat on. You're like, let me show you. You're so authentic about it. It was really cool. And 5 years. Congratulations. We're so glad you're still with us, obviously, and healthy. Me
too.
Really, really
Thank
good.
you.
I love it. Yeah. And just following up on one more thing you said, just about Facebook, and sort of as you encounter these things in your life that come up in the business that you think, oh my gosh, I'm done. I'm ruined. This one thing that I thought was so important, and being able to pivot. And I know that's sort of a COVID word, right? But honestly, being able to say, maybe it's not that important, and maybe I should focus over here instead, and watching how that unfolds. And your clients just follow your lead, folks. They just follow your lead. And when you say, hey, we're going to do this now instead, and here's what I'm focusing on, they can't wait because they trust you and they know that you're out there for their best good, right? So I love that. Thank you. So Sandra, what's something that's hard for you about real estate?
Besides, I'm sure what everybody says, the work-life balance and setting boundaries. That's a huge one for me. Maybe this is part of the setting boundaries, is how I can get emotionally attached and involved in my clients' lives. And lots of times, people are having to sell for reasons that are not positive. It's, a death or a divorce or, financial reasons. It really is sometimes really hard, because you're stepping in as their guide for real estate, but as I'm sure you also experience, we all experience, is we also become, like, in a way, like sometimes like psychologists and
for sure,
and counselors. And I feel like I'm part of the family when we're going through this. So it can be draining. And that's one thing I've been trying to learn, to support them in a way, but also where I'm not taking myself down because I'm emotionally getting involved too.
Yeah, for sure. That balance is so important. I heard somebody say recently, I think it was on another podcast, that we're looking for harmony, not balance, because balance means that literally, if you think about a scale, right, that everything has equal weight. So we're balancing. When in reality, like if you think of an orchestra, what we want is harmony, right? Because at some points, the clarinet's going to be louder and the oboe's going to be over here, right? And maybe sometimes the cymbals are going to be here. So we're looking for this harmony where sometimes I'm working a whole bunch of hours and sometimes I'm not. But is there enough harmony in this where I still have a life and I feel healthy and I'm taking care of myself and my own family, right? So sort of love that analogy.
Yeah. And also it's like the fact too, it's like okay, the thought of, like, I don't have anything in my pipeline. Is it going to be 6 months before I have another transaction? And being able to just, I give it up to God,
for sure.
And it has worked out for me before. It will continue to work out for me. And and why would I think differently? So on the work-life balance, I changed my voicemail to say something like, if this is after like 6 o'clock and it's not urgent, I'll return the call the next day. I can't tell you how many agents would remark on, that is the most amazing thing that you say that. It's like, whether I really do it is a totally different story.
You're trying it on. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that boundary, there's some fear, I think, that comes with this industry and being in it, to say, I have to be available 24/7. And let's be honest, folks, that's ridiculous. Think about any other profession that you know. I mean, outside a surgeon, but still, even surgeons say, here's when we're doing surgery, right? These are the hours I work. These are the hours I don't work. And you have to have some don't work hours. You come more fresh to your clients. You have better ideas. Your brain is in a better space. You're healthier overall. So I love that you have the 6 p.m. And honestly, I have to tell you, I think you garner more respect from your clients when you have a stop, right? Yes. If this isn't urgent, we'll talk in the morning. And they're like, oh, right, because she's a businesswoman, right? She isn't this scrappy person that's working all the time and sort of running out of fear. She's like, oh, I got a business and I work my business and I do it well. So I love that. That's awesome. Okay. So if you could think, and this is sort of a interesting question to narrow it down, but if you could think about 3 things that you would say, I think these 3 things have been probably at least very responsible for my success in this industry, what would you say those are?
for me, number one would, learning to be authentic. I saw some top real estate, brokers in my office and the way they did business. And I thought, well, that's what I have to do. I have to do that in order to be as successful as they are. And I tried that, didn't work, and it didn't feel good either. So realizing that just be honest to who I am and authentic, because then you're going to appear that way to a potential client, that you're not trying to not be yourself. And, and even if it means if I don't win a listing or a client, it's okay, because it probably wouldn't have been the best outcome anyways.
That's right.
So I think that's one thing. Yeah. And I really am like, okay, you know what? I am going to be funny, and I am going to be a little quirky, and, and I am going to probably come after the first couple of meetings in yoga pants, because I'm running around,
That's right.
and I'm a team player. I work hard. I normally am like hauling stuff and, cleaning toilets and, whatever's needed to help my clients. Another one would be testimonials. I've worked on trying to get testimonials on Zillow and, and Google. And I think that has also brought me business is that. And I strongly encourage brokers to really get going on trying to get testimonials uploaded. And then I think another really big one is the relationships that I've been able to develop through the years, with my fellow brokers. I think that, if we help each other out when it comes up where I need help to make my, to help my clients out, people are totally willing to come and help me. Or to help to be a winning offer. If I have a good rapport with an agent, and if it's between two offers that are identical, I feel like the relationship I have, or, is huge.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely. I love it. Those are fantastic. And I love what you just said about the authenticity part, because you've met someone who's comes to your house, or you're interested in having windows done, or I forget, some salesperson who you can tell the difference if they're putting on sort of this show, because that's what they've been taught. And you right? Like you're feeling it is either, usually I feel pity for them. Oh, I wish they would stop all that mess, that dog and pony show or whatever it is. And instead just be themselves, because as soon as they put down their book, their 3-ring binder, and just start talking with me as themselves, now we're connecting, right? Now we're making a difference. Now I can figure out if I want to hire them. So I love that authenticity. Yeah. For people listening to the podcast, you can't see this, but we're on Zoom right now. But I wanted to show you this, Sandra. So this is a book, a little Shutterfly book that our creative director, Farley, put together. And it's a seller's guide, and it's tiny, right? It's just 6x6. But speaking of testimonials, what it does is it just says who you hire matters. And then inside it has each thing, like prep for your house, and a picture of some clients who then wrote a testimonial for me about how I helped them prep their house.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So you can copy this if you want, but it's a leave behind for a listing appointment that's real easy, and also it matters who says it, right? So it's not just me saying, I'm great at these things. It's these clients talking about it. So testimonials are so, so important. And I absolutely agree. Get those going. Get ready to ask your clients to give you those, right? Because it also helps them refer you, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. And then relationships with brokers. You already said it, but oh my gosh, just so important to continue to go look at other listings, even if you don't have a buyer in that price point, because the agent. Make relationships with those people. I think you and I have known each other for, I don't know, your kids were little. I mean, I just remember them being little. So it's a long time now.
Oh my gosh, a long time.
You're right. I love that. I love that we've known each other that long. Okay, so last question. This has been awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. I love all your thoughts, and you're fun to interview. So
oh my gosh. Well, I love you, Jennifer. You know that.
Thank you. Okay, so you love this question because I know you get it all the time from your clients, but crystal ball it for just a minute. So we're in a weird market right now, but for the next 12 months, what are you seeing in our industry? What do you think is going to happen?
I feel, unfortunately, we're still going to have low inventory in our area. I feel like that's not going to change at all. We were in a double steroid market We're now not, which is a good thing. It's a good thing that things are a little bit more balanced. Interest rates, that has had some type of an impact right now of people not knowing what they want to do. I always feel like when there's unknowns, that's when buyers take pause and want to sort of see what's happening. But we're heading into a new norm of higher interest rates, which are still historically majorly low.
Right.
And I think once buyers start feeling like they realize that and they settle into this new norm, they'll be back, to realizing that now is the time to purchase. I feel that unfortunately with inflation, builders have stopped building, which is not a good thing for us. And I feel that with that, happening, I think next year and the year after, we're going to continue to have low inventory. And with the amount of people that are moving here from other areas and the growth that we're having with all the companies, that unfortunately is still going to be difficult for buyers to buy. I hope that we don't see the appreciation, that we've had over the last couple of years, because that's just not sustainable. I just like to see just steady growth, which is what I'm hoping for in the next year. However, I still feel we're gonna, it's still going to be a seller's market here, and buyers are still going to have difficulty, unfortunately.
Yeah, agreed.
What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, I love the reprieve a little bit right now for buyers. It feels like, people are going to be listening to this interview years from now, and so we're going to be hearkening back to these times, right? But I feel like there's a moment right now for buyers to step into, gosh, I'm not having to do $300,000 over list price to get a house, right? On some occasion right now, you can get in. So even with a higher interest rate, you're able to actually pay less than you would have in February for that same house, right? So
exactly.
there's a moment, but yeah, it's going to maintain. I agree. It's going to continue to be a seller's market, and builders, we need you. Keep building, please keep building.
We do. We need them so much, and I think everybody's just sort of, I know people are thinking, are we going to have another 2008? No, there's no way.
No.
There's everything is so different from back then. 2018, it's a little bit closer to the 2018 blip that we had, but it's not something I strongly feel that, that we're going to be okay. Everyone's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And moving forward, real estate has always been a great investment. It's also, in a recession, a lot of people go to real estate. Your recession, people tend to go to real estate as well. So I say, buy if you can. I would. As a matter of fact, I just bought another investment property.
Nice, good job.
Yeah. So if I believe in it, then and if I'm going to tell people that, then I have to do it too. So
absolutely. I love I know you've seen it too. They compare the stock market and other investments alongside of real estate. And over the last 35 years, real estate has outperformed. And I don't know if you've looked at your, 401k retirement stuff lately, but don't, because it's sort of sad right now. It's gone down. And if you put that against real estate investments and how they've gone up, and really over time, they've been one of the most consistent, and, even if we dip down and come back up, the most consistent investments. So I love that. Yeah. Very good.
And especially as brokers, like, we know real estate. So if we know real estate, then, and there's opportunities that are given to us as brokers. So I think it's something that, I highly recommend as brokers that we all look at that for our future and livelihood.
For sure. I always followed somebody who said a long time ago, make sure you buy when other people aren't buying. When there's some uncertainty of the market, that's your opportunity to step in, right? So I too am looking at purchasing right now, and it's because of that sort of philosophy. It's like, I have a lot of people who are nervous, so they back off, and you're like, this is the time to get on in there and get something. So I love it. Sandra, thank you so much for being on the show and for all your wisdom. And it's super fun to talk to you, as always. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Inez. It's always wonderful talking to you too, Jennifer. And thanks for sharing that marketing piece. It looks awesome.
Oh yeah, you can copy. I promise. It's here. I'll show it to you in person next time I see you.
Happy to share it with my stuff as well.
Excellent. All right. Take care and thanks again.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you so much for listening into Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.